Sandy Miller. It's pruning season. It's still pruning season. We have had a really beautiful day. It's February 3rd, and I thought I'd start pruning. So this is a viburnum, and this is a great time to prune this. This is old wood. I'll be taking this out. Any place where you've got disease, which is right here, or any place that you have branches crossing, should be taken out, because that's going to create a problem where there's a chance for disease or insects to get in. So and this is a new shoot, which is okay, but it's growing to the interior of the tree. You want to keep the interior of this small shrub open and airy. So it creates good circulation. So I'll be taking that out. So I'm going to clean this tree up. This tree, it's a small shrub, generally blooms early in the year. So I'm not going to touch too much. Normally I would prune after it blooms, but this year I'd like to get a jump on things because there's a lot of stuff going on in the garden this year. And this whole back area is getting revamped. So I'm going to do some pretty heavy cutting. It won't hurt the tree. You can generally take up to 1/3 of the growth off on small shrubs, and they're fine. I'm also going to be taking back all of the hydrangeas to the ground. These are not macs, these are paniculatas, so they like to bloom on new growth. So I generally cut them hard, and I think I'm going to try and have enough time to move a couple of these too. Strike while the iron is hot. Okay, so what I wanted to point out is this is looking pretty severe. I've taken out a lot of this tree, but this is how in the landscape world I say no good can come from this because look at the scarring on this. This is old growth, and I know if I want this bush to last and I want it to really thrive, I can take 1/3 of the old growth out. And I'm going to take this all the way down to the bottom. And you can see how much I've taken a pretty big chunk out. And this piece that's old and really diseased comes off of that main piece. So I shouldn't have any trouble at all taking this off. Okay, I've taken probably more than 1/3 out. Shocking, I know, I can't stop myself. But this tree was in not great shape. So I've cut everything at an angle. This will hopefully heal itself off. I'll keep an eye on it this summer. I try to cut things at an angle so that the rain drips off. It's not sitting there forming a place for rot to get into, but I still have these spots. And these are from other branches that were rubbing against it. So now what I have is I've cleared all this out. So now I've got an upright pattern, and that's let lots of circulation in. I think this viburnum will have a lot better shot. I won't get as many blooms this spring, but it'll still be enough. So now I'm gonna go hit the hydrangeas. One more thing, if you wanna see how much I took out, I took out over 1/3, but this bush has been here a very long time. Okay, this is a hydrangea called Pink Diamond. I like these a lot. It's been sort of abused over the years, but this is the one thing I do every spring, and it's technically not spring yet, but it is a fine time to cut your hydrangeas down. So you can see how big this is. This is going up to 4.5, 5 feet. Everything is going to come down to the main trunk, and then it'll shoot all new leaders out this spring and over the summer, and this will bloom late summer, and it turns pastel pink to a rosy pink come fall. And this might get moved, but I'm going to cut it back now, and then I'll assess if I want to move it or not. It will have a huge root ball, so I'm not sure I want to do that. Okay, so I'm back. I know this looks pretty severe, but it's not. So when we come back in the spring, I've cut all the dead wood off. I've cut this back as far as I can, and it really does look like a stump. But this'll all rejuvenate. So I'm going to keep on moving down the line, and I'm going to work on the bay laurel next. Okay, so this is the bay laurel. And I've had so much deer damage on this poor small shrub, it's pathetic. This should be a big tree, it's not. So what happens is, what I've done is every time I've cut it back, you get new growth on these. I think these are great in the landscape. They perfume this whole backyard, and I absolutely love the smell. I've had neighbors come over and say, "What smells?" And it's this tree. So if you like fragrance, I would highly recommend. And it's just a indescript little bush that you can stick in the back. They like partial sun, partial shade. They're not too fussy. This has been eaten to the ground and by the deer, and it comes back every year. I am leaving this one in. I may be taking out a lot of other stuff, but this is staying. So I have this particular branch is arcing over the other side, and I would like to put a small dwarf apple tree over there, which will really bring the deer in. We'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna cut that one out, and then any place where I might have a little disease or I might have something going on, but I'm not gonna cut on this very hard. Okay, I didn't do a lot of cutting, but I took some main leaders out because they were dead, or they were half dead. You could see down the trunk where this part is dead and this part's alive, so that has no future. So this one I left in because that might be the tree of tomorrow. So I will watch that all summer and into next year and see if that, because this is so badly damaged, but I don't want to take that out because that is a main part of this tree. But by removing all that other stuff, that now has a chance to heal itself. I've let air circulation in there. It's got more energy that's going to go to that side of the tree to help that tree heal up. I don't paint it, I don't wrap it, I don't do anything. I let nature kind of take its course. These stumps will be fine. I've cut them at an angle just like I did on the other plants, and hopefully the rainwater will sheet off and not rot. So we'll keep an eye on this, and we're going to keep moving down the line. Next to this tree, see if I can focus in on this guy. Okay, this is called Exchorda. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. Okay. Hello. This plant is called Exchorda, and it's a Russian pea clover. It sets nitrogen in the soil. The reason I planted it is because I knew when I put this in that I would never get back here very often. It blooms beautifully in the spring, absolutely filled with white blossoms, and it likes to be abused. My kind of plant. So you can, it likes drought, it likes heat, it likes wet, it likes everything. So if you're looking for a plant that you need to fill a space in your yard, or you have a desolate area, or you want to hide the compost pile, this would be a great plant. It doesn't get huge. It has a round form to it. You can cut it pretty hard. This might be leaving the property because I'm interested more in edibles, and this is not an edible. I do like that it's an early bloomer, so the pollinators really come out for it. This place is alive with bees in the spring, and I may leave it in for that. If I do my surveillance and I don't have anything else that's going to be coming out in late May, early June, this might have a spot here. But if I do have other things, so for right now, I am just going to cut any place where the limbs are crossing that disease might set in. And I'm going to also cut back anything that's growing to the middle. And this is like Medusa's hair. This plant is very hard to prune. Everything crosses, everything touches. There's no semblance of order. But when it blooms and when it leaves out, that stuff goes away, and it's quite beautiful. You don't see it in a lot of landscapes, and I don't know why. It should be planted like on city lots because it's great, and people have city bees now, so it would really be advantageous to have it planted like around tall office buildings and stuff like that. You literally put it in the ground and walk away. I did not even water this guy in. I literally threw him in the ground and said, grow. The landscape prayer, grow. so I'm going to survey this and then I'm going to move on down the line. Okay, I lied. First off, I'm kneeling in deer poop. You know, you're just not a landscaper unless you're stepping or kneeling in poop. So one of the things I wanted to show you what I like about this tree, look at these beautiful seed heads. They're, I don't know, are they quadrifoil? No, actually I just think they're gorgeous. So, but when I ended up looking at everything, I took out 3 big branches because they were creating disease. Everywhere they had crossed, there was a scab. And so I'm trying to eliminate that. But I do like the structure of this small shrub. And it can hang over the neighbor's yard. She doesn't care. I care. Because this is like the only path I have to the back garden, and I kind of need it to get a wheelbarrow through. But anyway, this will branch out. It's got lots of odd 90-degree angles. So if you like that kind of thing, I would highly recommend Exchorda. Look it up. They're pretty easy. They're super easy to plant. And I am now going to turn your attention to, this is a Miss Kim lilac. It's a bush lilac. I cut it hard last fall, so I'm not going to touch it at all because these bloom first thing in the spring. I do see where I need to take a few more big chunks out. If you want to keep a lilac blooming, and this is true for all varieties, take 1/3 of the old growth out. And you can see, this is the old growth, and this is the new growth. And I have things coming up from the middle, but I'll be cutting these older pieces back so that I'll have nice fresh growth, and that will rejuvenate this lilac. This lilac, it's over 20 years old, and they're pretty happy here. It stays about this size. It will get bigger. I have one up in the front that's way bigger. I cut that hard last fall, and I cut at the end of August, and you should see all those new shoots coming off. So I'll get in and prune that again really hard again. Then I'm going to move down to the plum tree. This is February 3rd. Everything has buds on it. Everything. There's so much green. It's a little terrifying because everything should still be dormant. So if I transplant things today, I need to water them in because the sap is moving. So I'm going to move on down. I have a magnolia tree. I have some holly trees I'm going to cut pretty hard. They've gone crazy. So the magnolia I normally would never touch a magnolia, but it's encroaching on the plum, and I'd rather have the plum. So, and the magnolia is Betty. It's a small one. It's only supposed to get 5 feet tall. It's much bigger. Things are very happy here. So I'm going to cut that one piece out, and then we'll walk down this whole row because that will take me to the end of the row, and you're going to think I'm the anti-gardener, but I'm not. Your plants will love you if you hurt them. So that's it, and I'll be back in a minute.